This is where the big boys play, huh? We ain't here to play. At the total combined weight. At the total combined weight of 589 pounds.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, at well over 500 pounds, this is where the big boys play.
All right, welcome to the show, everybody. This is At a Combined Weight, and I am your host, Charlie Dudley, joined by the esteemed minister, Robert McElroy. How you doing?
I feel great, man. I'm doing just fine. What Charles is referring to is the very interesting little piece of news I got yesterday evening. I was expecting one of my best friends in the world to sit me down and tell me I was going to be a groomsman in his wedding, but alas, he wants me to officiate, and by the power of this vest on me, be the most responsible figurehead in their wedding.
You're going to be Brother Love.
Brother Love, I am.
Make sure you watch episodes of the Brother Love show, and make sure you work that into your gimmick.
I need to get really sunburnt too.
Yeah, paint yourself red, if you will, a white suit.
He did such a good job with that red gimmick. Like it looks like he looked like I did several years ago when I had like sun poisoning.
Just beat red.
I mean, just like those low fat hot dog weenies.
Oh, terrible.
Those pink fucks.
Yeah, not to be confused with the cooked hot dog weenies of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, someone popped for that on Twitter not long ago. You had tweeted out that what I've been telling you for some years, and you and I both agree that Hogan's skin does indeed look like good cooked hot dog weenie in the skillet. A little bit of oil. Just Who was it that ended up?
I don't know. It was one of the WCW ones, WCW Worldwide or something like that, one of the archive sites. I don't remember. Talking today about October 14th, 1996, live from the Mid-South Coliseum, Memphis, Tennessee. Very southern town, rich in wrestling lore. Home of Jerry the King Lawler.
Yes, indeed.
They open the show with Shivani, Larry Zbyszko recounting the Macho Man Liz storyline from last week, and I'd forgotten how much play this storyline gets leading into Halloween Havoc. I thought she comes out and then they eventually get back together, but I'd forgotten about them pushing her coming out last week and him saying that he's done, and then all of the stuff that we'll get into on this show. I'd just forgotten that it had been such an integral part of the Monday Nitro era.
It's a huge part of it, and I do remember this angle. However, I did not connect the dots to Halloween Havoc. I didn't know that it was this particular pay-per-view that it was right. That we were leading into with it all. But I remember it being a big deal, or finding it to be a pretty big deal when I was a kid. We'll get into it more later, though. But
yeah, it's very strange, and I'll bring up how it's strange, and it's going to be very reminiscent of our discussion about Mean Gene Okerlund, I feel. Opening match of the show, Dean Malenko versus Brad Armstrong. Malenko still has his Mysterio mask in tow that he had taken from Ray. Announcers spent most of the match, as they do, pushing other things. They pushed the Macho Man storyline. Decent work for these two guys, about what you'd expect. Malenko gets the win with the quarter Nelson roll-up. What were your thoughts on this one?
Well, I came away from this match in knowing how poor Nitro had been the last several weeks. After match number 1 between Dean Malenko and Brad Armstrong here, I remember saying to myself, well, shit, this could be the highlight of my night.
Yeah.
It
pretty much it's to me it's the second best thing on the show.
I would agree. I enjoyed this match, but I really came out of it thinking well, this is as good as it gets, folks. It's downhill from here. Not necessarily the case. Props to both men. I enjoyed the match. I really did.
Yeah, Brad Armstrong is a really good worker, and everybody knows Dean Malenko is a hell of a hand. End of the match, Malenko tells Mysterio via right up against the camera, Mysterio, your time is up coming in at Halloween Havoc, despite the fact that we haven't seen Mysterio on any kind of TV in several weeks. Then we get a blue denim shirt commercial with the McMichaels. And yeah, with the weird looking hands with all her four fingers all bunched together as Deborah McMichael likes to hold up her four fingers
with her thumbs beside them.
Yeah.
She's just showing you the back of her hand, but not letting any cracks go through those fingers.
That's right. Very, very overtly Southern. Here they're selling you a $39.95 blue denim shirt plus shipping and handling.
Awful.
Then we got a backstage segment. The NWO shows up in the black limos. I'd forgotten how, if anyone showed up in a black limo, they were automatically NWO. I knew that I'd remembered that the NWO was kind of synonymous with the black limo, but as you see later in the show, someone else gets into a limo, and it's white.
I took note of that as well.
It's so crazy. It's so nuts.
And then last week, Jeff Jarrett makes his Nitro debut. He comes in a really chiefly shitty blue limo that was probably come out the year I was born.
Right.
So you thought, well, it's a limo, but
Chief's in it.
Yeah. Maybe Chief will emerge out of it with Hacksaw.
Speaking of Hacksaw, nice segue. Hacksaw versus Mr. Wall Street. Terrible match. And one thing that really bothers me is they've done nothing to make you care about these guys at all, outside of just nostalgia. They bring them out and they're like, hey, you remember this guy? Hey, you also remember this guy. Now they're going to fight. That's it.
Yeah, and I wasn't a big fan of the way this match ended either.
Yeah, the whole tape gimmick comes into play.
Yeah.
And then Wall Street takes the tape from him. Hacksaw hits his finisher. These two guys, they had built themselves into two good characters in the WWF. You've got Hacksaw, he's the American that comes out with the flag and ho and gets the crowd pumping, and then, IRS did his whole gimmick with the taxes, and he was not, super developed, but you knew his gimmick. Here, they just kind of, like you've talked about with one of the things that's good about the NWO, and they throw guys out here that you're familiar with. Here, I think it's just kind of lazy. It's just, hey, y'all know these guys, I'll send them out there.
Yeah, M. Wall Street has the gimmick of something having to do with money, and that's kind of where it is. They don't give him any mic time, anything of that nature, and I wonder if it's kind of WCW's way of just having two guys that are sort of out to pasture, so to speak.
Yeah.
Two wily veterans.
It's better than what they would do later with Hacksaw in the Russo era. But Hacksaw gets the win with the 3-point stance, clothesline, which is good. I enjoyed that finisher better than the whole tape fist gimmick. I'm kind of over the tape fist gimmick. But
well, the tape fist gimmick makes me laugh. It's nostalgic for me. I used to imitate it a lot as a kid, and I still do as a really big-ass kid.
Right.
What I didn't like, though, about the ending was how Mark Curtis, and he's a thorough referee, he can clearly see Hacksaw all crazy with he can't help but put that tape on in a manner that's just over the top.
Right.
But Hacksaw can't just hide the tape and keep it from Mark Curtis for this one part. I didn't really like that a whole lot. But, I mean, I'm with you. It's cool to see him actually put his finisher on to get a relatively clean win.
Right. Up next, you had Hugh Morris and Jim Powers. I thought it was a pretty decent match. The guys worked hard, and I'm trying to do a better job of discounting some of these undercard matches just because I couldn't give two shits about the guys involved. But here is, I kind of, I guess, gained an appreciation for the work of Hugh Morris. He's just so athletic to be so big. He's very Kevin Owens-esque, but almost more athletic than Kevin Owens, because I don't think you'd ever see Kevin Owens do a moonsault. And if you did, it wouldn't look as good as fucking Hugh Morris's moonsault in this match.
No, it wouldn't. I remember in WWF Magazine, what few issues I bought it over the years, they would have one section of it where they would have like this dream match. They would take somebody from the old school WWF, pair him with someone from the new. This would be perfect. It would be just an awesome match, Hugh Morris versus Kevin Owens. I mean, it really, really would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like this match just fine. I mean, Nick Patrick continues to build here, and he and Teddy Long really get into it.
Yeah. Nick Patrick gets distracted and misses the Powers pin, and then he doesn't miss the moonsault pin. He and Teddy Long get after it, so it was okay. I mean, I liked, the athleticism of Hugh Morris. Jim Powers is kind of, an also-ran at this point. Speaking of also-rans, Greg Valentine against Lex Luger. They recap Arn Anderson's beatdown of Luger last week. Okay match. Luger's not going to give you a great match unless he's getting carried to one. And, Valentine's not going to carry it when he's can't even carry his body to the ring at this point.
I think in the grand scheme, this is pretty decent booking. Like, it reminded me of when they pitted Macho Man against Ron Studd to tease his match against the Giant. Luger will be facing Arn Anderson, an old wily veteran. Well, here he is, pitted against a wily veteran and Greg Valentine.
Right, working the back the whole time. That body part focus is very Arn Anderson-esque, old school type wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, Greg works the back through the entire match. This wasn't a bad match. I mean, you mentioned that Luger's not going to give you a good match unless he's carried to one. Right. Greg the Hammer Valentine kind of carried this one.
Yeah, but I wouldn't think that this match was good by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah,
it was good for this show. I mean, if
sure.
We're damning it with fame praise for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't just cringe. I wasn't cringing throughout.
No, of course not. Up next, Schiavone interviews Nick Patrick. Tony Schiavone, he says that there's going to be a $500 fine for Macho Man and a suspension, and Nick Patrick wanted a $1 million fine, and he gets a $500 fine. And what was it, like the first 5 matches of the 1997?
Yeah.
Which was stupid.
I mean, quite the difference between $500 and $1 million damn dollars.
Yeah, exactly. They might as well have just said, fuck you, Nick Patrick.
Yeah, really.
But speaking of, they show the NWO Saturday night segments with the ref and the ski mask, and I'd forgotten that they did that with Nick Patrick, and that he was the ref, and Tony Schiavone's like, it's your mannerisms, it sounds like you, it's you, basically, and Nick Patrick's like, it's not me, I'm WCW, I'm not NWO.
Yeah, I mean, I remember this whole gimmick, but, as a kid, it pissed me off. God, Nick Patrick overcooked my grits. and Nick Patrick, I mean, from his physicality to his mannerisms, you can tell it's him in that damn mask.
Oh, yeah.
No neck brace to be found. Even the way he counts with his arm flailing all over the place too. No, let me just like take a page out of Mark
He's like his elbow is dislocated when he does it. He's like, boom, just twisting it all around.
It's a very like it's kind of his signature, you know.
Oh yeah, it's very overdramatic. I mean, I like it, but
I do too.
I'm ready for the whole Nick Patrick deal to move on a little bit. Up next, we were supposed to have Mike Enos versus the Macho Man. Match never happens. Bischoff is not at the broadcast booth to start hour 2. Instead, he's trying to get a word with Macho Man. And for some reason, it's very out of character for Bischoff, in my opinion, and it's very out of character for Macho Man. And it's something that we've rarely seen from WCW, where they stop them and say, hey, look at the footage, like showing footage of something happening. And Bischoff shows Macho Man this video of Liz on a swing next to a tree, and it's supposed to be like really emotional, and she gets emotional and has tears in her eyes. And what did you think of this one?
Well, I remember this as a youngster. And of course, between my love for Macho Man and my disdain for NWO, and the fact that I could get lost in things like this as a young fan, I remember thinking this segment was pretty heavy.
No, you were like, get the tissues out.
Yeah, break them out. We got a woman crying here. And props to Elizabeth. She's a good little actress.
She did a good job with this segment.
She did a fine job with this segment. I mean, plenty of other talents would have just made this just wretched. She didn't. She's so cute and lovable and meek and mild, and did a fine job with it. And you see Macho Man in it humanizes him so much. If you're a young fan, he's got his glasses off, focused on this lady who's emotional.
Yeah.
It did a number on me when I was a child.
One thing that I mentioned earlier in the show that I would kind of compare this to is on a bigger scale. We've seen WCW do this a lot, and they just kind of harken back to old relationships, and they've done that with Macho Man and Elizabeth. And if you are a fan of wrestling like we are, that's grown up on wrestling, you saw these people together all of your childhood, and you were able to watch their wedding in a wrestling ring at SummerSlam as a kid. I mean, I was 7 or 8 when they had the match made in heaven and the match made in hell. That is a double main event, where the main event was Hogan and Warrior were in a tag team against Colonel Mustafa and Sergeant Slaughter and General Adnan. And then the actual main event was Macho and Liz getting married. And then you see their divorce and the whole deal that leads to her being with Flair, and then now they're back together. It's like you're invested a little bit, like these people are part of your wrestling family, if you will. It's like your aunt and uncle, if you will. I mean, because think about all of the things you've shared in their fictitious lives, but real lives. I mean, because they were obviously together. But there's very few instances in wrestling where you see that happen these days. True. Where you grow to love a character, where Macho Man was a heel, and then he's a face once Miss Elizabeth hits WWF, and then he becomes a beloved character, an iconic figure, and they get married together as one of the first WWF weddings ever, if not the first wedding ever.
Yeah.
So this is a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was okay as far as like the her crying and stuff. I didn't like how they spent so much time on it, though.
Are you talking about like the weeks and weeks leading up to it? How much it? Yeah. I mean, we're gonna move on from it soon. We'll be done with it before you know it.
Well, we're about to move on from it right now after this one thing. As Macho leaves the arena, he gets into a white limo. Not to be confused with the black limo that the NWO is in. Up next, Eddie Guerrero, Prince Iakea. It wasn't Prince Iakea, it was the Cheetah Kid, but it was Prince Iakea under a mask. Just a build for Eddie, DDP, Halloween Havoc. I thought Cheetah Kid got way more offense in this match than you'd expect. If you're just looking at him and you're just like, who the fuck is this guy? And Eddie got the win at the end, but he was definitely the babyface in peril here.
Yeah, I mean, I like this match just fine. I'm gonna, any type lucha action or anything close to it is always entertaining. Eddie cuts a pretty bad promo right before this match, like almost to the point that I mean, you get a little uncomfortable watching some of this stuff when it's that bad.
Oh, yeah.
You're
a
like,
lot of the
ooh.
early stuff of the Lucha guys, none of them really cut great promos.
No.
None of them really cut great promos. Then we have the Lee Marshall on the road, sponsored by 1-800-COLLECT. It would seem like everything was sponsored by like 1-800-COLLECT or like 1010 321 or whatever the fuck.
CALLATT. That
yeah,
shit.
Exactly.
All these companies had so much money to spend because they were so widely used. You better believe I made some collect calls.
Oh, yeah. Like if I was out of town and I was calling somebody, it was definitely 1-800-COLLECT or whoever was sponsoring the WWF pay-per-views at the time, whatever,
Dude, yeah, if I was at the downtown pool in Columbiana, like the little city pool, and you needed to call somebody from there, like I wasn't gonna like have change with me, like you're in a bathing suit.
So you're just gonna charge them collect from the pool.
That's what yeah.
Nice.
Nice. My best buddy at the time, his dad got so angry at me once for having called them collect. I mean, I can't blame him, and I was frightened of him too. So I was scared about the wrath of my collect. Oh.
Interesting that Lee Marshall is very, very sparse around WCW at this time, but he's the voice of Tony the Tiger. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't. That's pretty awesome. Jesus.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a booking. That's gonna keep money rolling in for many, many moons.
Well, yeah, he's dead now, but
well, it's interesting in you talking about how sparse he is and what have you. With Mean Gene out, Lee Marshall would be good in that role.
Yeah, but I guess he was more of a, we're not going to take him on the road TV type. They just had him call in and say, it's really cool where we're going to be, blah, 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 that kind of deal.
Yeah.
Up next, Big Bubba, Jeff Jarrett. You see, Bischoff takes a dig at WWF and the way that they booked Jeff Jarrett. If you were a fan of the WWF in the 1990s, around this time period, Jeff Jarrett was a country singer and had a country album that he was putting out and had a single. It was called Be My Baby Tonight, and he performed it in air quotes at In Your House, and it basically lip-synced it, and then it came out that he didn't actually sing it, that his roadie sang it, which brought on the debut of the roadie, who would go on to become the Road Dogg. And I hope you all followed me there, because that's as insipid and roundabout as you can get in like 1990s Vince Russo WWF booking there. So they feuded over the song. Bischoff says he can't sing a lick, but that doesn't matter in WCW because we care about wrestling.
Yeah, I wasn't a particular fan of this match. I didn't like it a whole lot, really. It was I did like though how Big Bubba really worked hard to get heat in a Memphis crowd, and of course this is Jeff Jarrett's town.
Right.
I mean, Jarrett comes out to a decent pop and everything.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's well liked in that part of the world. I liked the match okay. Like you said, the crowd was into it because of Jarrett being a Tennessee guy. I never understood the allure of Jeff Jarrett. I never understood why he was booked so well in so many different places. I guess it has a lot to do with the fact that his dad's Jerry Jarrett, and he was a promoter and all that kind of stuff. I just never got into anything that he did.
No, I didn't either. I wasn't a big fan of it.
I mean, from WWF to WCW to TNA, I've always just kind of overdone.
Well, and I don't like peace signs in my wrestling. Remember Evan Bourne?
Yeah.
I used to overcook my grits with his little peace signs, and here it is, 20 years prior, and that's what Jeff Jarrett's doing. I didn't particularly like him that much either, and his little dance is too much like Flair's. He does the figure four. Well, right.
Yeah, that was the point.
Does the figure four like Flair, so that's not going to fly for too much longer.
I mean, he ends up doing that damn strut forever, though.
He's going to get confronted about it.
Jarrett gets the win, drop kicks the megaphone, thrown in by Jimmy Hart. Post-match segment with Jeff Jarrett. He'll take Ric Flair's place at Halloween Havoc against the Giant. Does a lot of the he makes sounds a lot. He's like, oh, ah, oh, oh, when he's talking. Yeah, and then the fake laugh at the end is terrible.
It took me out of the promo. Like, it wasn't that good of a promo anyway, but then you distract me with your, oh, what I'm saying sure is intelligent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
sure?
Is it?
Is it?
Up next, you had the main event of the evening, which this pissed me off. It infuriated me that this is our main event. I was like, yes. And then I look on the thing, I press pause, I press X on my PlayStation real quick just to see how long the match is, and it's short. And I was like, oh, there's going to be some kind of fuckery involved. And of course, it was tons of fuckery. We couldn't get a Faces of Fear versus Harlem Heat, just blow it out of the water, knock down, drag out. Ming rips people's hearts out in the front row and stomps a mud hole in them and shit. We get the Four Horsemen come out, and then the NWO interferes, and then we don't even get a finish. It pissed me off.
Yeah, I didn't like how they didn't allow there to be a finish at all, but
the work was good. It could have been better if they would have actually worked and had a finish. Like, even just have the finish be screwed up at the end, but I mean, it stopped the match twice, essentially. For the Face of Fear to kind of get on the apron and look at the Horsemen, and then to stop the whole match completely when the NWO comes to ringside.
How funny is Ming when he dances
Does his
with
little
Sherry?
dance? Yes, I loved it. Loved it.
I popped for that so huge. I rewound that several times.
Yeah, I love the dance.
Oh, it was so good.
Hall and Nash show up. Randy Anderson throws out of the match. Face of Fear, Harlem Heat show up. Face off with Outsiders. Nothing happens. They get right by the guardrail like they're going to. Ming was like, hey, let's go. And, of course, Hall and Nash back up because, they're going to beg off because they're heels. And that's what they do.
I would have liked to have seen some carnage. I mean, here you have Harlem Heat and Ming and the Barbarian. They unite. It's WCW uniting together against the forces of NWO, yet we see no brawl. But by God, I wanted there to be one so bad. I'm sure the people in the arena did want to as well.
Yeah. Like I said, this whole deal kind of infuriated me. Then we cut back to the broadcast booth, and I didn't like this part either, how Bischoff starts questioning Macho Man's future because he's in an emotional place and he's not going to show up and wrestle at Halloween Havoc because he saw Liz cry on a swing on a video. After everything you know about Macho Man, he's not going to show up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially after what you see in the in-ring segment at the end, the way they treat Liz, there's no way he's not going to lace up the boots, as Bischoff says. But I just thought it was a waste of a little tease. Is he going to be there? Is he going to show up? Well, fuck yeah, he's going to show up. He's fucking Macho Man.
during the match between the Faces of Fear and Harlem Heat, Bischoff even apologizes to the Poffos. Did you catch that?
I wasn't listening. I was too busy being enraged.
Yeah, well, he was, while you were enraged, he apologizes to Macho Man's parents, the Poffos. I love how he uses, their name. They are the Poffos, and is very sorry to have brought their mentally unstable son to this place where we don't know what he's going to do next.
Yeah, see, I didn't like how he's supposed to be in like this emotional state, and if at this point, I'm thinking about how you and I have talked about how do they get to a point where Macho Man joins the NWO and it not just be like, you fucking serious?
Oh, I'm already pissed. I don't know how they're going to do it.
I don't remember, so don't tell me.
Oh, I don't remember either.
But I know that they do. Like, he joins. But why would you do that? Why would you join after this, after all of this? And after everything you know about the character, why? I just don't get it. Final segment of the evening, NWO comes out. Hogan starts running down Macho Man, and his promos are terrible. They're so rambling and all over the place, and they don't have any kind of direction. You can tell that he's not given any talking points. He just kind of rambles.
Yeah, he pretty well just says what he wants here. More about how Elizabeth belongs to him now, this sort of thing. How she's such a great actress to have pretended to cry, and Elizabeth goes to try to hit him. So you, as the audience member or viewer, she was never acting.
Right.
That Hogan's just a lying douche.
Right. Speaking of douches, the Nasty Boys come out with their pieces of paper, and then they get beat down for wearing NWO shirts. And I didn't understand the purpose of them coming out and then Hogan saying, like, I don't know why you're wearing the shirts. Like it was a surprise that he looked over and they were wearing the shirts.
What I didn't understand the most, though,
what was the contract deal? And
the contract. That's what I'm confused about.
It didn't make any sense.
No, he talks about the contract, and there's a signature there, but it's not mine. But as a viewer, you're going, wait, you just said there was a signature there. So what's up with the contract?
Yeah,
what is this?
It was very convoluted, and I didn't like it.
Well,
I did like when they got beat down.
Yeah,
because
I'm
not
pretty
a fan
predictable.
of it at all. Oh yeah, it was.
I mean, it's predictable as shit too, because I mean, you called it a booty man moment several weeks ago. That's been pending for a while. I mean, you just knew what was coming.
Right. Hogan, for the life of him, cannot remember that Halloween Havoc is at the MGM Grand. He just keeps saying MGM. He's like, Halloween Havoc at the MGM. It's like, dude, remember, it's MGM Grand. It's a brand new arena at this point.
Yeah.
It's like one of the first big events they had there.
Well, it's 2-0 MGM Grand over Hogan. We still got a 3-0 count. The headphones versus the Giant.
Oh yeah, and he never gets his heat back on that one.
Never.
Hall and Nash take over the broadcast booth, and then the rest of the NWO comes up. I like the fact that Hall brings up that, what are they, from Harlem? And then he says, no, they're just two bumpkins from Texas.
That was great.
When they are actually from Texas. Like they're from Houston.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, Hall...
They're bringing the realism into it.
Yes.
And the cool factor for sure.
Definitely, and Hall, as a member of the Clique, not afraid to say fuck you to kayfabe.
Right.
I mean, they had already had that moment on WWF where they had all the entire Clique kind of united before Hall and Nash's departure. He's already, several weeks back, talked about how he questions if Giant's really related to Andre. So,
right.
I mean,
poking holes all in that kayfabe storyline.
So this is Hall's wheelhouse. He's good at it. He's good at doing it in a subtle manner.
Yeah. Like, he doesn't go overboard. He's just kind of like, yeah, look, you guys here. They're not from Harlem. They're from fucking Houston. I love how he calls them bumpkins, too.
That is pretty funny. Though I would have hated if, for example, it were Kamala the Ugandan giant, and he was running down and be like, isn't James Harris from Mississippi? I'd have been like, motherfucker.
Yeah, that's a gimmick that you've got to protect a little bit.
I think it is imperative. I think it's at certain gimmicks, absolutely. By God, Undertaker's from Death Valley, regardless if Mark Calloway's from Houston. Okay?
Right.
There's certain
exactly.
gimmicks you
gotta
look
protect.
after.
Yeah. Pretty quick episode of Nitro here. I mean, it's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, probably the quickest show we've done, too. I mean, once it's
there's not a ton of stuff to talk about.
No.
Heading into Halloween Havoc, Hogan, Savage. That's about it. I mean, that's the big match they're pushing. They're kind of pushing DDP, Eddie Guerrero, and to a lesser extent, Malenko, Mysterio, and Outsiders Harlem Heat.
Yeah.
Everything else is kind of a mishmash. I mean, Benoit, Mongo, and Faces of Fear, which that'll be terrible because Mongo's in it. But
well, that's not the only reason it'll be terrible. This match has almost no heat. There's almost no build to it. I mean, big fucking deal.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have Benoit and Ming in there, they're going to just beat the shit out of each other.
They are, and it'll be
Barbarian
entertaining.
Too.
It'll be entertaining, but like there's been no build, or it's been a lazy build. So what? You have a couple of the Four Horsemen come and watch the match like that.
Right,
that's
yeah.
the only build.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it
Kinda
doesn't.
shitty.
I mean, it's anyway. You got anything else on the show?
No, man.
Me either. Hit us with your social media.
Instagram and Twitter, being_large. Facebook, shoot me a like at Robert McElroy Actor.
As always, you can follow us on Twitter at a combined weight. Shoot us an email at a combined weight at gmail.com. If you are into kind of new web series and kind of that nerd geek culture, we have a special episode of At a Combined Weight that we did on Gasm Media's Dice Lords. It's up on our YouTube channel. Check it out, and also check out the Dice Lords web series if you so prefer. Got it? Anything else before we get out of here?
No, man, that's it. But definitely check out Dice Lords, and the good folks at Gasm Media have a lot of different services they can provide for you. Speaking of services they can provide, pretty soon, if you're in the state of Georgia and you got to get hitched,
Robert McElroy will marry you.
I'm your guy. So add that to yet another one of my really strange little skills.
Yeah. Jack of all trades, master of none.
Master of zero, I promise you.
All right. Thanks for clicking the link that brought you here on PWInsiderElite.com. We'll see you later.